Okay, this video is going to be a little bit more of a lecture than a demonstration like the rest of the videos are, but we need to cover some of the basic ideas behind cascading style sheets, which you'll many times see abbreviated with CSS. So in this lesson, what we're going to cover is the parts of a style declaration and also the types of style sheets that you can use. So just a quick note on why you would want to use cascading style sheets. The style sheet was invented after HTML, and HTML was very limited in the layout and decorative things you can do, and so style sheets were invented to make it a little bit better. So the basic tenet behind style sheets is that they are going to be used to enhance the layout and the appearance of a page, and the HTML will focus on the structure. So it allows you to separate the design from the structure elements. So what I mean by that is whenever you're going to put an element on a page, your tendency is going to be to use an HTML tag. So if you want to put a table on a tag, or a table on a page, or an image on a page, you'll use an HTML tag for that. If you come back and say, I want the background of a table to be green, or I want this font on this paragraph, then you're going to lean more towards the style sheet to accomplish that. And there are a lot of reasons that your textbook covers on why they're important, and we'll cover them in a learning module as well. So what we're going to do right now is talk about the basic structure of the style sheet. The style sheet consists of three different parts. You're going to have a selector, which is what element is going to receive the focus of the style that you're setting up. You will have a declaration, which consists of the property you're going to change. So if you're going to change the font color, or you're going to change the layout of the position of something, that would be the property you're changing, and then you will feed it a value to actually make that change. So an example of a style sheet declaration, and this would be an embedded style, which we'll talk about later, is you might come in and say that you want to change the default link colors on your page to red. Normally the links, when they've not been clicked on before, will be a blue color. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and say that the A tag is our selector. And then the curly braces, again, are used for embedded styles, and we'll talk more about that. But you come in and you say that I want to change the property of color, and then the syntax is that you put a colon between the property and the value, and in this case we'll go ahead and change that to red. Now with these selectors, we're going to work with selectors of just HTML tags to start with. So I could come in and choose a different selector, the H1. So anytime the browser sees an H1, it would apply the style. So H1, we can say the background color is going to be purple, and we can say the font family is going to be Arial. Don't get too hung up right now on what the different properties and values are. We'll cover those, and your textbook will cover those in depth at a later point. But just to let you know, what happens is the browser comes in, it sees the H1 tag, it says, okay, every time I encounter an H1, I need to change the background color to purple, and I also need to change the font family to Arial. Just a couple of things to notice syntax-wise. Spaces are a big no-no, so always if you have a two-word property, there's going to be a dash between them. Background dash color, font dash family, background dash repeat, things like that will have a dash in it. Again, the property is separated from the value with a semicolon, two dots. And if you want to define multiple properties, you separate those by a semicolon, the period and the comma together. That's the basic layout for a style sheet. It has a selector, and then you define the property and the value that you're going to change. Now there are three types of style sheets, and they interact differently, so we need to spend some time talking about them. The inline style is going to usually be attached to an HTML tag. So it's going to look a lot like an attribute. We've done attributes with the anchor tag. We've had A with the attribute href equal, and then whatever it's equal to in quotes. An inline style is going to look a lot like that. You're going to have the tag. Then you're going to have the attribute style equal to, and then you'll define the property and the value inside the double quotes. The thing about an inline style is it affects only the tag that it's attached to. So if you attach a style to an opening P tag, the duration of that tag lasts only through the closing of the P tag. And so it just affects one targeted thing on the page. The next type that you have is what's called an embedded style. It's usually defined in the head section of the document using the style tags. And it will follow more the format that we started out with, the selector and then the declaration of the property and value in curly braces. And this serves as a template for the whole page. So in this case, if this is an embedded style up here, every time the browser encounters the A tag, it will follow this property. So every tag on your page, or I'm sorry, every link on your page will be red. If you define the H1 that we've done up here as an embedded style, every time an H1 appears, if you have 6 H1s on your page, every one of them automatically will inherit the background color purple and this font family changed to Arial. So it's really useful if you're going to use the same style throughout your page. Instead of typing it 16 times in an inline style, you can put it once into the head section and here you go, it cascades down to the rest of the page. If you want to go one step further, you can use the external style sheet. And what an external style sheet is it is another document. It's a separate document from your HTML page. It has an extension of .css. So it might be something along the lines of my styles.css or this page styles.css. So you can do this in Notepad too, and what you do is you just have lists of the styles that you want to define. No HTML anywhere in an external style sheet. So you write those styles out, you save it as whatever.css, and then it can act as a template for multiple pages. And what I can do is I can then come into my document later on and I can use the link tag up in the head section. I need to tell it what kind of a link I'm going to make. Now I know it's funny we're not using the A tag for links. I didn't make this up, somebody else did. But you'll give an href that points to the file that you're going to use. And what it does is the browser sees that it needs to go out and get these additional instructions. It reads that CSS file, it brings those styles in as if they were embedded styles and then applies them as defined. So in this case I could have a generic style that says the background on all pages is purple, that all links are white, and all H1s are, you know, whatever I decide to change. And instead of having to do that on 600 different pages on my website, I can come in with this link statement at the very top, and all of those styles that I've predefined would automatically apply to my page. So it saves you a lot of time. It also allows you to edit pages a lot better. Let's say you've made 600 pages, your client comes in and says, ew, purple, I'm not so sure about that. Why don't you change it to green? Instead of going into every page in your site and changing the page to green in 600 cases, you change it in one place, and again, that style cascades down. So before we finish up, we need to talk a little bit about precedence, because it's very possible that you could redefine these styles in all three documents. You can have inline styles, you can have embedded styles in the same document, and then you could also link in an external style sheet, and all of them might redefine the same thing. So let's say in this example that we have an embedded style sheet. So up in the head section we have this. We have H1 background color purple. But then say in our external style sheet somewhere down here, we might have H1 background dash color is red. So if I have this in my embedded style sheet and this imported using my linked style sheet, what color is the H1 going to be? And the easiest way to think about this is whatever is closest to the element being changed is what wins. So an inline style always takes precedence over the embedded and the external styles. So if I have an inline style that changes an H1 background to color yellow, then the browser will ignore the instructions that it's supposed to be purple or it'll be red, but because it's inline and closest to the element being changed, then it would win and it would turn it yellow. The next step up is something on that page. An embedded style will generally trump a linked style. So you can redefine these things, and as you get good at this, what you'll do a lot of times is you'll look at your page and you'll say, I'm going to have 16 H1s on this page, and all of them except for one will be purple. So you'll go ahead and define this as an embedded style, take care of all 16 of them, and then come in and write an inline style on the one H1 that needs to be different, and it will allow you to trump this style that you preset. So that is talking about the precedence of CSS, and it's very important to understand that sometimes you can overwrite or trump a style that is defined at a higher level, either meaning to or not. So that ends this section. In the next section of CSS Overview, what we're going to cover is we're going to talk about configuring classes, and we're going to talk about different ways to select things. After that, we'll start tackling some of these different properties and values you might be interested in.